Thousands of veterans at 100% VA disability rating are leaving up to $50,000 in life-changing benefits on the table every single year, and most don't even realize it simply because they don't know they have to ask for them.
It is staggering when you actually map out the numbers. You are looking at generational wealth and fundamental family security, just, sitting there in the dark, waiting for a single form to be filed.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Veterans Briefing. Today, we're unpacking a reality that completely shifts how you should view your VA benefits.
Yeah, we are drawing heavily on some insights from Dr. Marshall Barr today.
Right. He's an Army Ranger and a former C&P examiner. And for anyone unfamiliar, that means he was the actual medical professional hired by the VA to physically evaluate veteran claims.
Exactly. He has seen the inside of this machine, and he's helped thousands navigate it. And his primary insight is really a wake-up call for a lot of people.
How so?
Well, the VA rating itself is just a key. And, most people focus their entire lives on just getting that key.
Right. Fighting for the medical evidence.
Yes, they stress over the exams, the appeals, and then they just stop fighting the second they get that 100% decision letter in the mail.
Which makes sense. You're exhausted by that point. But the core mission of our discussion today is to show you that getting the 100% rating is, well, it's only half the battle.
Just half.
Knowing which doors that key unlocks is the other half. So today, we're breaking down 5 massive, often completely hidden benefits of a 100% VA disability rating, along with some that actually kick in much earlier.
Yeah, and we're not just going to tell you what they are. We're going to explain exactly how they work, why the systems often fail to automatically give them to you, and how you can actually go claim them.
Because if you don't understand the mechanics of these benefits, that decision letter is basically just a piece of paper. It's the starting line, not the finish line.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Let's start with the foundation, though. When you hear 100% rating, the immediate thought is usually just the monthly compensation check.
Right, the cash. Right now, at 100% VA disability, you're looking at roughly $4,000 a month, which is about $48,000 a year.
But the actual financial footprint of that money is drastically misunderstood. I mean, let's unpack the math on why $48,000 from the VA is not the same as $48,000 from a civilian employer.
It all comes down to the tax status. That $48,000 is entirely tax-free. And when we say tax-free, we mean it is completely shielded from every single standard deduction.
Right.
There's no federal income tax, no state income tax, no local taxes, no FICA taxes, no Social Security or Medicare withholdings. I mean, absolutely nothing touches it.
Wait, let me make sure we're putting this into perspective for the listener. Because when you or I hear someone is making $48K a year at a standard job, we know a massive chunk of that is just disappearing before it ever hits their checking account.
Exactly. To have the same actual functional purchasing power, to have roughly $4,000 physically land in your bank account every single month, a civilian would need to earn a gross salary of roughly $60,000 to $65,000 at a regular W-2 job.
Depending on their local tax brackets, of course.
Right, exactly. So you aren't living on a $48K lifestyle. You're basically living on a $65K equivalent lifestyle.
I look at this monthly VA check as a foundational wealth building block rather than just like a stipend or a safety net. But here is where we hit a serious psychological wall, and I hear this all the time from the veteran community.
Oh, the guilt about working.
Yes. People feel a sense of hesitation or even guilt about going out and working a highly paid full-time job with a 100% rating. They worry about the optics.
Yeah, they think if the VA sees me working as a successful project manager, are they going to pull my rating?
Exactly, which is a huge misconception.
It is one of the most critical mindset shifts a veteran has to make, and it stems from a total misunderstanding of what VA compensation actually is. The phrase disability compensation tricks people into thinking it operates like civilian Social Security disability.
Or like unemployment, right?
Right. In the civilian world, disability is often an income replacement program. If you earn too much money, you trigger a means test, and they take the benefit away.
But VA disability compensation is completely different.
Completely. It is not means tested. It's indemnity compensation for what you sacrificed and how your body or mind was permanently altered in service to your country.
So to put a really fine point on it, a veteran could natively earn, say, $200,000 a year at a tech job, be sitting in the highest federal tax bracket, and the IRS still cannot touch a single penny of that $48,000 VA check.
Not one penny.
And the VA won't reduce it either.
Nope. You can make $1 million a year. It's not double dipping, as some people call it. It is a separate legal entitlement.
That's incredible.
You can build wealth, invest, grow a career, and have this tax-free income acting as just an impenetrable financial floor underneath your family for the rest of your life.
If you're finding these discussions helpful, please subscribe to Veterans Briefing so you never miss important updates and practical information for veterans and their families.
And honestly, maximizing that incoming federal money is just the baseline. Where this gets even more fascinating, and frankly where a lot of veterans lose out, is how that 100% rating can act as a shield to stop massive amounts of outgoing money.
Outgoing money on a local level, right?
Exactly.
Which brings us to the biggest localized expense most of us face, which is housing costs, specifically property tax exemptions. We just talked about the federal rules protecting your income, but let's dive into what I like to call the local loophole.
Yeah, it's a loophole that can save you more money over a lifetime than almost any other secondary benefit. If you're a veteran rated 100% permanent and total, or P&T, you're often eligible for massive property tax exemptions.
But there's a catch.
There is a big catch. This benefit is not federal. It's entirely controlled at the state and county level, which means the rules are totally different depending on where your house is physically located.
Right, let's ground this with some examples from the research. If you live in Texas or Florida and you have a 100% P&T rating, you pay absolutely zero property taxes on your primary residence.
Zero.
So if your property taxes were going to be $8,000 a year, they are now nothing.
And in other states, it's a sliding scale. Like in Illinois, veterans with a 70% rating or higher start getting exemptions, scaling up to a full 100% exemption based on the assessed value of the home.
Okay, so it varies widely.
Yeah. States like Virginia, Michigan, New Jersey, and Ohio all have their own specific layers of property tax exemptions for disabled veterans.
But let's talk about why we called out that $50,000 in unclaimed benefits at the top of the show. I think a lot of veterans assume that because they fought the federal government to get this 100% rating, they are magically protected across the board.
They think it's automatic.
Right. They think, why wouldn't the VA just notify my local county tax office that I'm exempt?
Because they legally can't, and bureaucratically, they just aren't connected at all. You have to understand the mechanics of the systems here. The federal government oversees your VA medical records and your rating.
But your property taxes are local.
Exactly. They're assessed by a local county clerk or a municipal tax assessor down the street from your house. Because of federal privacy laws like IPLAS and the Privacy Act, the Department of Veterans Affairs is not allowed to just broadcast your disability status to thousands of separate municipal tax collectors across the country.
So there's no giant secure server legally connecting the VA to your local town hall.
Exactly. Your county clerk has absolutely no idea you are a 100% disabled veteran unless you walk into their office and prove it.
So you have to physically go there.
You have to physically go to your county assessor's office, file their specific local paperwork, and hand them your VA decision letter. If you just sit back and assume the government knows, you are going to keep getting a tax bill.
And if we do the math on that assumption, it's devastating. Let's say you're a veteran. You buy a house, you have a 100% rating, but you assume it's automatic, so you just keep paying your mortgage through your escrow account.
Yeah, you just let it ride.
Right. If you're paying $6,000 to $10,000 a year in property taxes, and you legally don't have to over a standard 20-year mortgage, you are just handing $120,000 to $200,000 back to your local government.
It's painful to even think about.
That is your kid's college tuition, just evaporating because a piece of paper wasn't filed.
It's an incredibly expensive oversight. You have to be proactive.
Absolutely. Well, while we're looking at housing costs, let's look at the barrier to getting the house in the first place. There's a massive real estate benefit that a lot of 100% rated veterans actually overlook, ironically, because they forget the baseline rules of the VA system.
Oh, the funding fee.
Yes. Let's dig into the VA funding fee waiver.
This is a really big one. When you buy a home using a VA loan, there is a built-in cost called the VA funding fee. For a first-time home buyer putting no money down, this fee is typically around 2.15% of the total loan amount.
So on a typical $400,000 house, 2.15% is what, $8,600? I look at that almost like a hidden closing penalty.
It really is a hefty fee, and most people don't even have the cash to pay it up front, so they just roll it into the total loan amount.
Which means you're paying interest on it.
Exactly. You are not just paying $8,600, you're paying interest on that $8,600 for the next 30 years. But here is the critical rule. This fee is completely waived if a veteran has a service-connected disability rating of just 10% or higher.
Wait, just to clarify, not 100%, just 10%.
Just 10%. The floor is incredibly low, but we're discussing it today in the context of 100% ratings because so many highly rated veterans fall into a specific timing trap.
How does that happen?
Well, they bought a house before their 100% rating was finalized. Because they didn't have a rating at the time of closing, they paid that $8,600 fee, and they think the ship has sailed.
Right. They think, I didn't have the rating then, so I had to pay the fee. Too bad for me. But that's not actually how it works, is it? Walk us through the retroactive refund process. If a veteran bought a house 3 years ago, paid that massive funding fee, and just recently got their rating finalized, what is the mechanism to claw that money back?
It all revolves around a concept called the effective date. The VA claims process is notoriously slow, right? It can take months or even years of appeals.
Too long, usually.
Exactly. When you finally win your claim, the VA assigns an effective date, which is usually backdated to when you originally filed your intent to claim.
Okay, I'm following.
So if you paid that funding fee at your closing in 2023, but your new rating's effective date gets backdated to 2022, you are legally entitled to a complete retroactive refund of that funding fee.
Because in the eyes of the VA, you were technically disabled at the time of closing, even if the paperwork took years to catch up.
Precisely. But again, the lender isn't going to magically send you a check.
Right, another proactive step.
You need to contact the VA directly or reach out to your mortgage loan servicer and initiate the refund process yourself. Do not let $8,000 or $10,000 slip away just because bureaucratic timelines overlapped.
Man, that's crucial. So the house is secured. The incoming wealth floor is secured. But for most of you listening, the ultimate priority isn't just protecting yourself, right? It's protecting your family unit. Let's shift our focus to how a 100% rating shields your dependents, starting with healthcare.
This is where a 100% permanent and total rating fundamentally changes the trajectory of a family tree. We really need to talk about the CHAMPVA program.
CHAMPVA. Explain exactly what that unlocks for the family.
Well, if you are rated 100% PNT, your spouse and your dependent children suddenly become eligible for CHAMPVA. This is a comprehensive civilian healthcare program administered by the VA.
That's huge. What does it cover?
It covers doctor visits, prescriptions, hospital stays, and mental health services for your family.
Which is massive because civilian health insurance premiums for a family of 4 right now are just suffocating.
They are. A family might easily be paying $800 to $1,200 a month in private health insurance premiums through an employer. CHAMPVA can entirely replace the need to carry that private insurance.
That's a lot of money back in the budget.
Think about it. When you do the math on saving $1,000 a month on premiums, that's $12,000 a year in liquid cash back in your pocket. Over a decade, that is $120,000 saved just by eliminating those healthcare premiums.
That is life-changing financial relief. But healthcare is only half of the family equation. The other half is education. I think many vets assume that once they use up their own GI Bill, maybe you used it to finish your bachelor's degree after you separated, they assume your kids are just out of luck for military college assistance.
Right, that's a very common myth.
How does Chapter 35 completely rewrite the college planning playbook for a 100% P&T family?
It rewrites it because Chapter 35, which is also known as the Dependents Educational Assistance Program, or DEA, is an entirely separate pot of money from the GI Bill. It is a completely different mechanism.
Okay.
Your personal GI Bill usage does not drain or affect your family's Chapter 35 benefits in any way.
Wait, so you could have fully exhausted your GI Bill and this is still sitting there untouched for them?
Absolutely. If you have a 100% P&T rating, your spouse and children are independently eligible for this. It provides a monthly payment directly to the dependent, currently over $1,400 a month for full-time enrollment to help cover tuition, books, and living expenses.
Oh, wow. And what if you have multiple kids?
Multiple dependents can use it at the exact same time. If your daughter wants to go to a university, Chapter 35 helps fund it. If your spouse decides to go back to school for a nursing degree, Chapter 35 is there for them simultaneously.
I can't even begin to quantify the stress that removes from a household. Instead of a veteran agonizing over how to scrape together a $529 college savings plan while paying a mortgage, Chapter 35 steps in and provides a reliable stream of federal funding.
Exactly.
Frankly, too many veterans are taking out high-interest private parent loans for their kids' education when there's a federal benefit legally waiting to do that heavy lifting.
Which is a perfect segue, actually, because while Chapter 35 secures the family's future educational needs, we also need to address the veteran's past educational debts.
All right, let's look in the rearview mirror. What happens to the veteran's own student loans once they hit that 100% threshold?
Achieving a 100% P&T rating unlocks arguably one of the most powerful financial resets available, the total and permanent disability, or TPD, discharge for federal student loans.
And I want to pause here to be very precise with our language.
Yeah.
A TPD discharge isn't a forbearance, right? It's not an income-driven repayment plan where the balance just sits there accumulating interest while you don't pay. Tell the listener what it actually does to the balance.
It is a complete dilution of the debt. The
Yeah.
balance is zeroed out entirely. Whether you owe $15,000 from an unfinished associate's degree or $150,000 from law school, if those are federal student loans, they are completely wiped away.
Just gone.
Yes, the financial burden simply ceases to exist.
But earlier we talked about how the VA and local county tax assessors don't talk to each other. How does the Department of Education handle this? Are they actually talking to the VA, or do veterans need to force this process too?
It's a mix, and honestly, that's where the danger lies. The Department of Education has recently overhauled their systems to try and automatically identify eligible 100% P&T veterans.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they run data matches with the VA. For some veterans, the system works perfectly. They literally just get a letter in the mail saying, "Congratulations, your loans are discharged."
Which is fantastic when it works. But knowing bureaucratic databases, I'm assuming it doesn't work for everyone.
Not even close. People slip through the cracks every single day. Maybe your name changed after you got married, or your address doesn't match perfectly between the VA and the Department of Education, or there's a simple Social Security number glitch.
So the automated system fails constantly.
It does. If you are 100% P&T and you still see a balance on your federal student loans, you cannot afford to just wait and hope a computer script finds you next month. You have to take control.
What's the step there?
You go directly to disabilitydischarge.com, submit your VA decision letter, and manually force the discharge.
Now, all of these massive benefits, the tax-free income, the localized property tax exemptions, CHAMPVA, Chapter 35, the student loan discharge, they all require that golden ticket.
Yeah.
The 100% rating.
That's right.
But Dr. Barr points out that a huge segment of the veteran population is currently stuck hovering in the 70% or 80% range.
Mm-hmm.
If you are listening to this right now and you know your medical reality is worse than your current rating reflects, how do you actually bridge that gap to 100%?
It almost always comes down to understanding what the VA is actually looking for. A lot of veterans file a claim, fight to get to 70%, just hit a wall.
They just get burned out.
They get exhausted by the adversarial nature of the system and just accept it, even if their conditions have worsened or if secondary conditions have developed.
I think they assume the VA medical examiner is basically a detective who will figure out what's wrong with them.
Exactly, and that is a fatal flaw in strategy. A C&P examiner is not there to diagnose you or build your case. They are there to answer a very narrow set of legal medical questions for the VA rater.
That makes sense.
So getting over the finish line from 80% to 100% often requires external validation that forces the rater's hand. This is where independent medical opinions, often called nexus letters, become the critical missing piece.
Explain how a nexus letter bridges that gap.
Let's say you have chronic back pain, you know it hurts, and you know you injured it lifting gear on active duty 10 years ago. But the VA needs medical legal proof that the pathology today is a direct result of that specific event a decade ago.
So how does the letter do that?
A nexus letter is written by a credentialed, private medical provider, ideally someone who understands the VA's highly specific diagnostic codes. It formally connects your current medical condition to your military service in the specific language the VA requires. It provides the evidentiary bridge that the VA rater legally has to acknowledge.
It's about speaking their specific medical legal language, proving what you already know is true, but doing it in a format they can't deny.
Precisely. You have to speak their language.
Which brings us to the end of our deep dive today. Let's quickly recap the top 3 key takeaways we want every veteran to walk away with. First, a 100% rating provides $48,000 of completely untaxed income every year, which has the functional purchasing power of a $65,000 civilian salary.
Right. And earning it is an indemnity for your service, meaning it does not stop you from working a full-time job and building serious wealth.
Second, massive localized expenses like property taxes and massive federal burdens like student loans can be entirely wiped out.
And this is the absolute crucial point, only if you are proactive. Systems don't talk to each other. You must manually file the correct paperwork with your local county and manually follow up on your federal loan discharges.
And third, the 100% P&T rating extends immense life-changing value directly to your family, shielding them with CHAMPVA healthcare and independently funding their educational futures with Chapter 35 benefits.
So your practical action for today, right now, as soon as this discussion wraps up, look up your specific state's property tax exemption rules for disabled veterans.
Find the official county assessor website for where your house is located, call their office, and ensure you aren't paying thousands of dollars in taxes that you are legally exempt from.
Do not assume you are covered. You really have to verify it yourself.
And we want to hear from you. Jump into the comments and share your own experiences navigating these hidden benefits. Did you know about the funding fee waiver? Have you successfully utilized Chapter 35 for your kids?
Or if you have questions about nexus letters or the process, drop them down below so we can keep this conversation going. Because the more we share the specific mechanical knowledge, the less money gets left on the table.
I couldn't agree more. I want to leave you all with a final thought to mull over today. If hundreds of thousands of dollars in life-changing benefits are sitting right in front of you, just waiting for the right form to be filed, it makes you wonder how many other local, state, or federal programs are quietly waiting for you to just ask the right question. Thank you for watching Veterans Briefing. Take care, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next episode.